Hello and welcome. My name is Andrew, and today I am the roots and shoots of Mother Earth.
Ooh, and I am Heather, and I am a strong and delicate warrior goddess with my red, root chakra red outfit on.
Yes, and this is the Sufficiently Profound podcast. We are your hosts, and this is where we talk about the conscious evolution of our planet.
One skin bag of consciousness at a time.
One skin bag of watery consciousness at a time.
Yes, that's me, that's you, that's Andrew.
That's all of us. So yes, this is so much about being able to sort of dive into this fact that we're just at this place in our planetary evolution, I think, that we need to all be sharing our voices, we need to all be looking in, and we need to be using that sort of inward-looking space to then look out. Because I think, I don't know, I lived most of my life sort of just looking out, trying to respond to things, trying to please people, trying to, have something to show for it all. But guess what? Nobody cares.
Nobody cares in the end.
And so I think it's just so much about, we're here, we're part of a planet that needs us to be awake. We're part of a planet and a humanity, a society that needs us to be more awake, more present with our own shit, basically, so that we can actually do something about it. And that's sort of what we're talking about today. So we are diving into really the roots of what conscious evolution means to us, which is so much about healing and what the heck that even means.
Can I just interrupt really quick?
Absolutely.
Describe our environment right now?
Yes.
So Andrew and I are sitting cross-legged on his handmade wool yoga mat that we found these amazing artisans in Oaxaca, Mexico. We're drinking tea or infusions of herbal substances similar to tea.
Just to be inclusive here.
To be inclusive. We have an incense burning because something about the scent feels cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's using all of our senses to just be completely present. So yeah, I just wanted to set the scene. So if you're listening and you want to hit pause and kind of set up your peaceful space.
Yeah, how are you in your space delighting all your senses? That's a big thing. Throughout the day, it's sort of, are we awakening our senses? Are we cleansing our senses? Or are we just bursting into life, through the front door, anxiety levels at 100, just going through the motions of life? Or do you actually come home and turn on an incense or put on a soft light and do something nice for yourself?
Because how lucky are we to have access to all these senses and then this gigantic brain to appreciate them and integrate them. Yeah. Not all beings have that, but these skin bags
do. So you might as well take advantage of it.
That's right.
So Heather, let's just jump right in. So we're going to both talk a bit about what healing is from our perspective, and I think that you have such a cool perspective on healing. And
I have a lot of questions.
You have a lot of questions and a lot of things to say, and I think that's where we need to jump in. And so when we talk about healing, I think a lot of people have questions what is a healer? What is healing? What
is there something wrong with me? Do I have to heal? Do I have something to heal? How do I know that what I'm doing is actually healing? When we have a cut on our arm, we can see it transform and change from something gross or open and painful to something closed and smoothed over. Maybe you get a little scar, maybe you get a big scar. We can see it. But when it's inside, do we have damage? Do we have wounds? I can't see it. I mean, sometimes I feel it. And am I the only one? Are people that talk about this stuff, are we the only ones that need to be healed? Or are the other people out there that aren't talking about this stuff, are they content? Or do they also have stuff that needs to be healed? Mm-hmm. Are we missing the secret? How do we get to that place to where we're also just content?
And so within that space, when you're talking about healing, what is healing for you?
What is healing for me? Healing for me is, over the course of my years, starting as a child, there were things that were disappointing or hurtful or maybe didn't go the way they do in textbooks or storybooks or ideal situations, and then they creep up and they cause me to doubt myself or to doubt other people's intentions, to not use all of my potential for something because some insecurity is holding me back, or some fear of rejection or inadequacy. What's the word when you're like cut out of the tribe?
Like exclusion.
Excluded,
yeah.
And is that real, or is that just something that I kind of held onto from the past, maybe childhood, but it's really limiting me of using all of me, which is amazing when I really think about it, to do amazing things. Which I'm not exactly sure what those amazing things are yet, but...
Well, here we are recording a podcast, so that's one of them, gosh darn it.
We are recording a podcast. Gosh, we've done a lot of amazing things.
We've done a lot of amazing things. I mean, we're sitting on a yoga mat that was a hand woven, okay? You set the scene. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I totally agree. I think when I was 16 actually, 16, just turning 17, I read a book called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it changed my mother-freaking life. It changed my life because it was the first time that I had somebody like answer one of those questions for me. Of like, hey, guess what? You have pain, you're wounded, you're unsure about your life. Guess what? You are normal. Like, actually, that is the most the most interwoven, that is the single thread that connects all of humanity in some ways, you know, besides the whole skin bag of water thing. But like, that's sort of like what we're all dealing with at this collective level. And so for me, like, I was able to recognize then of like, oh wow, like we all have wounds, you know, and you hit the nail on the head of like all those things, you know, like that first time you were excluded, the first time you were made fun of, the first time you were bullied, like, oh God's sakes,
or like the
physical
10th time.
Yeah, like every single time, right? And how much all of that sort of builds up and the effects that has on us at all the different levels, sort of like subconscious, even on the level of the body, you know, like sort of the limitations that creates.
And not even just those moments, but what about the first time you were mean to somebody else? Like, those thoughts also reverberate off the walls of my mind sometimes. I think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And those are things that, you know, do I tell somebody out loud? Do I come to peace with it internally? You know, it's impossible to apologize to the people I've been mean to, and it's like, I cannot believe I did that. I don't want that to be a part of me, but it is.
Right. But then it's like, but where did it come from? You know what I mean? Like, why do we choose to be mean? You know, like, what actually triggered that? Because I think when we start to like really put two and two together, you know, like the same things that we are healing from are things that we've perpetuated, you know, and it's sort of like that image of like different matches in line, like burning away, and one lights the next in this line, and then one is actually pulled further down. And so it's actually the one that doesn't get lit, and every single match follows is also not lit up because that one chose to pull down. And so it chose to sort of like get out of the line of kind of perpetuating just this hurt and this harm, really. And so for me, it's so much about that. It's so much about like choosing like, whoa, what are the things that I'm perpetuating most of the times unconsciously, you know, or just become such a habit, or it's become, you know, just part of my language, or whatever it is that's really like, wait, no, those things create harm towards me or towards my environment. And so like that for me is like, that's a big part of what I'm healing from. And recognizing like, okay, yeah, when we go back to the roots, it's like, oh yeah, all of that's because I was hurt.
Right. Your sense of safety and your sense of belonging, those two things are huge. Safety and belonging.
And also, can we talk about power for a second? Because like safety and belonging, like in a society like ours, where power is this like, it's created to be, you know, we're sort of taught that like power is like political power or economic power, or like, you know, like the power that comes along with privilege. And like, yes, those are ways of looking at power, but I think it really like strips away so much of what is just innate in us. Like the fact that we have a burning spirit, the fact that we the fact that we can dream, the fact that we can like really actually think of a whole new future, and we actually have all of the will to do something about it. Like that's power to me.
All the systems in place were put in place by somebody at some time in the past before us. And we do have the power to create and put into place systems that we are aware of now. Like, our body of knowledge that exists now is far greater than the body of knowledge that existed when these systems were put into place. Yet we all just go along with these systems.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going along with these systems built by people who didn't even know the earth was round. I mean, you know what I mean? They didn't even know what caused sickness, like that germs and bacteria existed. These are the people that put in the systems that we still follow.
And I think with that said too, though, like there was also so much ancestral wisdom that was actually like hidden. Like that was actually hidden or oppressed. Like really, like when we look at different systems of like natural healing, like what were the witch hunts? What was that about? Well, yeah, people who had figured something out, you know, in their society and actually had sort of some power to help others heal and help others recognize they were actually more in charge of their own lives, you know? Really, to me, it's all about liberation.
I was just thinking freedom.
Yeah.
I was thinking
because
libertad.
for me, like, we cannot look at, like, healing as apart from liberation. Because for me, it's like, okay, well, if the healing, like we're talking about, if the wounding, rather, sort of the thing we're pointing our finger right at, the thing we are looking right at inside of ourselves, actually comes from somewhere, oof.
Right. What was that we used all on our road trip?
Who the fuck taught you to be less free than you actually are?
Yes.
Who the fuck taught you to be less free than you actually are?
Right. And are you okay with that?
And why are you okay with that if you are?
Right.
You know, why are we okay with grades of that, degrees of that? Yeah, I mean, that's a really big question. Like, why are you taking the side of your own oppressor? What? Who?
So
why?
yeah, we are here to get free, to answer those questions, to be liberated and live with our whole self all the way out to the edges of our skin and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
without fear.
Without fear.
Without shame, without guilt.
Right, to create a tribe of people that will, because strength in numbers. So if I'm free and you're
Critical
free,
mass.
that's two of us. Now we're stronger. It's that video on YouTube, right? The first follower, like the first person is crazy, but then that first follower gives credence, gives legitimacy to the first crazy person, and then you get a third person and a fourth person. And next thing you know, you have this huge crowd of people that are all part of the first crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's be crazy, everyone.
Yeah, let's start a movement.
Yes.
I mean, we're not starting the movement, but we are a part of it.
And we're all a part of it. Because,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we all need to be part of it. And there's sort of that sense, too, of like, you know, none of us is truly free until we're all free, right? And so it really is this whole, like, collective thing. Because even going back to, like, you know, what are sort of these structures in place that oppress or that inhibit or that make us really believe, like, really we believe that these limiting beliefs that we all have is the truth. And that could not be farther from the truth. But then there's that whole thing of like, okay, I have these limiting beliefs, and so because of that, you know, I don't take action, or I don't say that thing, or I don't have that conversation, or I don't tell that person like what I really feel, or what I actually need, you know, or I don't even step away from like the fast-paced rhythm of my life to understand what my needs even are. Right. You know, like how much of us are caught up in that? Okay,
so speaking of rhythm, something that we were talking about is the rhythms of our life as humans. And both Andrew and I are from latitudes a little higher than the equator, a little higher than where we are now, where there were seasons, and you have spring, which is this time of growth and everything blossoms, and then you've got summer where everything gets frenetic, the pace gets frenetic, you live completely out loud and bold, and then by the time you're burnt out, fall comes around and says, hey everybody, chill, let's prepare for hibernation, we're gonna harvest and clean and just get all nestled in, and then we have winter for hibernation, and that's when we typically do a lot of introspection. We do a lot of we assess what we did over the previous year, and we think. It's quiet, it's dark, it's cold, we're not moving around so fast. And then by the time spring comes around, we're super excited, and we break out and we prepare to put all these plans in action about our new ideas for where we want to go. And so now we live closer to the equator, where seasons aren't
quite as pronounced.
There's not, I mean, we have like summer and then oppressive summer. So it's like frenetic, and then it's like, oh my God, we're about to die. But also we have the light change, the sun does change, and right now we're in this fall period where we are preparing for 2 to 3 weeks of hibernation, which is a much subtler form of hibernation. It's not even true hibernation.
I mean, it's hibernation if you want it to be, Heather. Heather and I have a bit of differing opinions about this, but...
Hey, I'm going to buy sweats this year, and I'm going to hibernate.
You just brought back a pair of my sweats. You better get yourself some. Yeah.
For sure. So in the absence of these super pronounced seasonal changes, we have both been drawn to the lunar cycle and the cycles and the rhythms of a monthly or every 4-week lunar cycle. And kind of we're going to lean on that a little bit in this podcast to guide our personal journeys and engage you guys in, you take away whatever speaks to you, and I don't know, we'll all be tribing together.
Yes. For me, like the moon, so I've done a lot of work. I think a big part of my own healing journey has really been to come back to the cycles of the earth and to come back to my own individual cycles, because for me, the fast pace. I used to live in Washington D.C., for example, and just like the level of pressure that I felt and that I could see around me of like how professional you had to be and how you had to network and how you had to be always on the go and how you had to be always perfect and how you had to have studied more than you've studied because you haven't ever studied enough. Like it's just like it's a pressure, and it's oh goodness, like it's just a whole system set up, as far as I'm concerned, that is very antithetical to the human rhythm, which needs rest, which needs times of movement and activity. Like, honestly, like, we're all a lot more like cats than I think we recognize. Like, a cat, what does it do? Like, it sleeps, it wakes up, it eats, it, like, explores a little, and then what does it do? Like, it takes a nap, Like, we're all a lot more like cats.
It's expended energy, it needs to take a nap.
Exactly, and how many people, like, in our society at a collective level are, like, literally running their life force into the ground. Or, like, literally just, like, basically have an IV linked up to some bank account somewhere, and it's just draining them.
Because they feel like they have to. I mean... They don't, even when they are told or given permission or read something or listen to something that says, hey man, you need to rest. That's when our body and brains rebuild and regenerate and recuperate. Like, we have to do it. And so many people are like, no, I just need a cup of coffee, I'm going to do this, I'm going to just, and you never take time to just think or be or let your cells repair.
And for me, like, so much of just letting myself have that time is so healing. Like, sometimes it's not even, because it's like, even you said, like, it's something we have to do, but for me, it's like, our society would have us believe it's something we get to do, like, and really it is for so much of us, it's something we get to do. Like, it is, it has become sort of this privilege because of how that rhythm is so wrapped up in sort of power. But nevertheless, for me, like, really stepping away to that, stepping away from that really colonial mindset of what power is into a more like earth-based sense of power is like, no, the earth is here for us. The earth is here for us. The water is here for us, And the real question for me is like, are we here for the water? Are we here for the earth? Are we here for our air? Because when you look around, like, I don't see that a ton, I think that is a big part of the uplifting and the expansion of our consciousness right now. And the earth is right here with us, with global climate change and everything. Like, wake up, like it's time to wake up. The Earth is on its own cycle, and we need to get with it and see how it feels with us and what we can do to contribute. Yeah, because that's the thing that I think sometimes we lose sight of, and I think I definitely lost sight of it more often when I was trapped in a different rhythm of life that was maybe more Gregorian, but it was like how precious life really is. How precious human connection is, and how like that is something that is so irreplaceable. It is something that's so, it's like what we're here for. Human connection, it is irreplaceable. I was just reading something. You posted it on Instagram. Did I? It was a tweet, yeah. I'm gonna find it. Yeah, find that tweet. And so for me, like moving away from sort of these cycles that have been imposed, because for me that's a colonial legacy. When you think of like the Industrial Revolution, like working on a clock, like no, that is an imposed cycle. That is not how humans work. That is not how humans live. And even though we were taught about the Industrial Revolution, like we all know that that's not okay. Like, like we all learned about it, and yet we're like still doing the same thing. Like we are doing the exact same thing and expecting different results. Do you know what that's the definition of? Insanity. Crazy. Insanity. And so, yeah, for me, like moving with the moon cycles, still moving with the seasons, because too, right, like you said, like even if maybe the seasons here are less pronounced, guess what? Every single moon cycle is like a microcosm, you
Right.
know, of the whole year. And then every single day is a microcosm of that, you know,
Right.
of the sun coming up and the sun coming down.
Right, absolutely.
And I think really just we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. And so too, when it comes to healing, like we've been talking maybe about sort of these like bigger concepts and more societal level, but I think too, like really for me, so much of the deeper levels of healing have come not just from pointing fingers outside, but being like, no, like, where is this inside of me? Like, where does this
What's
live
my
inside
role?
of me? Yeah, what's my role and where
Yeah.
does this live inside of me?
Yeah, because obviously we are the only people we have control of. We are the only skin bags that, you know, our brain is connected to this, all the stuff inside of this particular skin shape. And yeah, what's my role? What's my role in how I behave? What's my role in how I think? What do I need to change in my environment, externally as well as internally? What do I need to change what I'm reading? Do I need to change the music I listen to? Do I need to change the people I respond to or call to hang out with? Do I need to change?
Yeah, to me, all of this is holistic nourishment, like mind, body, spirit nourishment.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is like how much stuff could we just kind of say is junk food? You know, like how many
Right.
relationships or like how many activities are just like dulling down our life or just kind of escape
How many
patterns.
activities are dulling down and escape patterns?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like how long do you spend just scrolling on Instagram or like
Right.
on TikTok these days, or you know, like whatever it is, like what the hell why are you escaping your life?
Right, and like something that I constantly go back to, and I have been since maybe my early 20s, 21, 22, is when I die, when I'm laying there dying, I mean, ideally it's going to be a peaceful situation like that, but when I'm dying and reviewing my life, did I do everything I wanted to do? Or did I, you know, I just remember reading an article about old people and their regrets.
Oh, yes.
If I
regrets
could
of
do
the
it over
dying.
again. Yes.
Oh.
And I just remember thinking, I do not want to have these. I want to learn from these elders that
Yeah.
are being interviewed and talking about their regrets. Like, I don't want to be that one. I want to take the risk and do the thing and live big and risk rejection and risk failure. But at the end of it, when I'm laying there, I want to be like, yeah, man, fucking live. Full ass lived. Yeah. And like, what's what's her name? The poet? Mary.
My friend Mary.
My friend Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
You know, her famous quote that Cheryl Strayed made famous in her book was, you get one wild and precious life. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, and I think that is such a loaded question for so many people. You know, I think it's like if we really have that in front of us, when there are sort of layers of trauma and there's layers of guilt and fear and shame, it's like having that question almost is like an imposition of like, and I think that's sort of why we numb, you know, collectively. Honestly, I think it's because we all know, like we are all awake. We are all conscious beings. Like we all have that. That's what makes us human, you know. But then to be living and like very, at some like even subconscious level aware that we are disrespecting our body, we are disrespecting our dreams, that those dreams are inside of us and that we have the potential for everything, but like somehow we've convinced ourselves and our nervous system is convinced and our body is convinced that no, you don't. So don't do anything. Just stay part of the machine, you know? And so I actually wanted to share about a study that's actually from the book. Well, it's not from the book, but you can find it in the book, The Body Keeps the Score, which is, it's a really interesting like deep dive into trauma. It's a bit of like a dense read because trauma, but like in one of the first chapters, it talks about how there was an experiment with dogs, and sorry, there will be some like, trigger warning, a little bit of violence here, but there, with the dogs, they had two groups essentially, and they had dogs that would be shocked the moment they would leave a cage, essentially. And so the dogs would like run out of the cage and they would be shocked. And then you had dogs who had never in their life been shocked. And then you put all of them together in a cage, and then, so you have the dogs that have been shocked and the dogs that have never been shocked. And when the person with the shocker comes in, you know, they're hearing the vibration, they're hearing the electric, you know, current, they're hearing, you know, this person is like clearly like bringing a vibe of like, I'm here to screw you over because, you know, Western science thinks that's okay. First of all. And so the dogs that had never been shocked before, like ran the fuck away. But the dogs who had been shocked were like weeping in the cage.
Huh.
And like couldn't even move. And so for me, like that's trauma. Like that's trauma. Is that like really it's like worked into your fascial system, it's worked into everything, and it's like a heavy, dense like web that you know, it's like as if somebody had cast like a fishnet over us, you know, like we're kind of like, when you're like really living under a lot of trauma, like you're under that net, you know, like every single one of your decisions, however much you might want to reach out, like it's like so ingrained, like it's literally so in your fascial system that something needs to be done, you know. And for me, yeah, it's all holistic. Like it's not just, you can't just go to therapy and fix things. Like you have to be able to see it reflected in your relationships, you know. You have to be willing to change your relationships, you have to be willing to not stick with the people
and you have to like take an action and then feel it out, see what happens when you make this change. And sometimes it's not linear, sometimes you go forward, sometimes you go backwards, sometimes you do things that you're super proud of, and then sometimes you do things that you are not proud of at all. And just to know that you have other humans. And I know there's this big trendy thing about finding it all within yourself. But life isn't a solo sport. We're not designed for that.
Exactly.
And so it's crucial to find people to lean on.
Yeah. And who are there for your healing.
Right.
Who are here for it.
Yeah. Interpersonal relationships really are key. And
in a community, like a community and a sense of values, you know, that are not like Abrahamic, you know, like not like, or like maybe, you know, but like really things that are at the end, like really like consciously chosen, not just things that are like spoon-fed, not things that are just taken for granted, not just, because how much of that, like, okay, yeah, like maybe we've been built on certain values, but like I don't see them reflected, you know what I mean? Right. So like, yeah, like, you know, really where you see them reflected is like in the microcosms, is in sort of those, you know, us, you know, here, all of us, part of this tribe, who are here for the uplifting, here for the expansion, here for the healing, here for the liberation of it all, you know.
And how different it looks in different people. I mean, it doesn't all look the same.
I think what's super radical is actually to be so okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to honor everybody's different way, as long as, not even as long as, just honoring the fact that we're all in different places and knowing what you need in your life and allowing other people, if it doesn't jive with if it doesn't align with what you need in that moment, it's okay. It doesn't have to be in your space. It can be over there and also fine. Yeah.
Too, because I think it's sort of the collective level, right? Like, when we look at power as a scarce thing, all of a sudden, you know, as like a scarce resource to be had, well then all of a sudden, yeah, like there's people forcing other people to adopt a certain way of being, and there's people saying this way is right and this way is wrong, this way's good and this way's bad, and then other people are like, oh well, no, your way is bad, and so it's just this whole polarization that like, tell me we don't see that, you know, in today's society. And that is like specifically the symptom of a scarcity mindset, specifically around power, and specifically around healing, and specifically, more specifically, around like, you know, sort of the duller aspects of human existence. I mean, how, oh God, you know, like when you're thinking about like being alive, are you really just going to be like, damn, I made money? No, when you die, your bank account is going to laugh at you. So it's like what we were talking about. It's like all those things that, like the moments, the things that actually made it worth it. Your connection to the earth, your connection to other people, your, like, a life you can be proud of, you know, like feeling like whatever it is you came to do, whether you're an artist or a yoga teacher or a healer, or you are a, you know, single mother, like whatever it is, like whoever you are, whatever your thing is right now.
How did you, okay, so like the thing that I think about is, and it is relationships, how did you impact somebody else's life?
Yeah.
Because those are the vibes that are going to reverberate. Like when you're gone, it's those, what are they called? Ripples.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, well, I had this conversation with somebody, I may not remember it, but somebody does, and I'm long gone, but that changed that person's trajectory. And then that person will change somebody else's trajectory. And
well, it's like we're all part of the ripple, right? Like we're all part of the ocean. And so the more of us that cause the ripple, the more the ocean is going to move. And really just move into like a space of harmony, you know, not necessarily blown by the winds and the waves of of somebody who is determined it's going to be that way, but rather it's just like, oh wow, let's smooth out this current and make it a little more even, like for everyone. Because at the end of the day, I think, why is that so uplifting? Why is that so fulfilling for us? And for me, it goes back to consciousness. It goes back to, I have consciousness, you have consciousness. And the more that I actually connect to the things that empower me and make me feel good and make me feel happy and make me feel alive and make me feel in love and make me feel respected and make me feel trusted and the more those things are present, the more I recognize, oh shit, you want the exact same thing, don't you? Like, it may look a little different, but we all want the exact same things.
We all want it. Yeah. And some people never have yet to experience it, to have a moment to where they feel expanded and connected and plugged in. Some people haven't experienced that yet. And if something we do or something we say leads somebody else to have this little exposure, so they go, oh my God,
yeah,
what, this is a thing?
Yeah.
This is possible? How do I do that again? Whether it's hiking or meditating or doing 100 push-ups or sitting on the ground and having a conversation.
Or taking your first yoga class.
Taking your first yoga class.
Going to the beach for the first time, goodness sake.
Right, going to the beach for the first, just sitting there staring at the infiniteness of the ocean.
The eternity of it all.
The eternity, yeah.
That we're just a part of.
And there's been moments to where you literally feel like the explosion of the universe, and you plugged in, whether it's your hand is touching the ground or your skin is on fire and it feels larger than your what appears to be your physical boundary, and you just feel like you're at one with all the stars, the explosion of the beginning of the universe, and you're like, oh my gosh, I am the universe. I'm like, there is no separation.
Yeah.
We're all just here, kind of moving about and expanding and contracting.
And I think too, first of all, yes, yes.
Can I do that today?
Yes, and yeah, what are you doing later? Want to go expand the universe a little with me? Yes, and B, I think all those moments we need to recognize can also exist in where there's trauma, where trauma is present. It can all be wrapped up together. And
can I give a personal example?
Give a personal example
of that.
Because we're expanding the universe.
Because I've been in a heck of a year of healing this year. And 2020, the year we didn't start with clear vision, but the year we will end with clear vision. Much clearer vision.
Sometimes thanks to LASIK. Anyways, go ahead.
Just a couple weeks ago, I was on my way over here, or I was preparing to come over here and hang out for fun. I was feeling really good. I had done all this work, and I received a text from an ex that super triggered me unexpectedly. I mean, I bawled. I was like, what the hell? Okay. Flipped on my music, my hip-hop music, get it out, dance, be a goddess in the car on the way to Andrews. And then I got here, and we were having a good time laughing, and I was sitting on the ground with the yoga mat, and I was telling you the story, and it started taking over me again, and you were like, hold on, just lay down.
We're going to do a little something.
Let's talk it out. And so I laid down, you close your eyes, and you just created this space for me to fall apart. And it's not like I totally regressed to how I felt 6 months ago, but I had this moment to where it was okay to just kind of fall apart. And in that moment, I felt that same part of the universe. It is okay. I belong here. I'm grounded. I'm safe. I have people that love me. I love myself. I'm putting the thought into this. I'm going to get past this. I'm getting past this. And even that wasn't a hike. It wasn't a yoga session, but it was a moment to where I felt expanded and connected and I could see and feel that I was a part of the universe, that I was the universe. I am. We are. And it was cool. You know, so not all those moments have to be orgasmic moments, but those moments sometimes, even when you're snotty and your eyes hurt from crying, but you feel held and okay. Yeah, man. Like, that's cool. Those are important, and we need to do that for each other. We need to create spaces, become the person that attracts other people into our lives, and become the safest person in the room.
Yes.
Yes. It's not only for yourself, but for everybody else around you.
Yeah. For me, you know, talking about that day, for me, healing, I've kind of changed so much my perspective on healing as I have, you know, gone through my own journey and worked with a lot of people, and sort of seen what it is that is happening when it happens, you know, like when those moments, like you said, of like, oh, that was a healing moment, or like the moments that I know for me personally have been very deeply healing, like becoming more aware of like, oh, what happened? And for me, I recognized all that it was is there was just a greater alignment with who I know I really am.
Who I know I really am.
With who I know at a very deep level I am. And like you said, like, I am the universe, I am light, I'm like, whatever your experience of it is. Because for everyone it's different, you know, but when there's just this, you're tapping into this deeper sense of knowing and this deeper sense of understanding of like who you are, and that everything in your life is actually perfect and has actually informed every single one of your choices, and that all of your choices are actually still under your control.
Now I wish I had my journal here, because that is a perfect segue into our moon rituals.
Ah, yes. Moon magic, everyone.
Moon magic. So Andrew is magical at putting together just the right set of tools, questions, moments to really facilitate helping you get into alignment with the deeper knowing. Really,
that's what it is.
That's
right?
what it is.
That's what it is. Because for me, like, yeah, when you were talking about, at the very beginning of this episode, when you were talking about you get a cut, and what do you have to do? Nothing. Guess what you need to do for it to heal? I mean, like, Band-Aid helps, you know, like, cleaning it out helps, but, like, you could also over-clean it, you could over-cleanse it, you could also, like...
But your body knows
your
what
body
to do.
knows. And do you know what's happening? Your subconscious has it under control. Because your subconscious lives in all of your body. It's not just our brains. Like, you're digesting, you're pooping, you're sweating, all of these things, literally, and thank goodness you can breathe without having to think about it, because we all would be dead. People don't breathe these days. So yeah, like, you know, having that conscious awareness is fantastic, but also there's things that are actually just out of our control and actually are just a result of our subconscious. And so for me, it's so much about like diving into the subconscious and like finding those little like things, like those little moments or those contracts that have been written, you know, what are sort of these things that have been written and I've lived as if they were true for a long time. No, fuck that. Rewrite that shit. Like, rewrite that shit. And to be in that space, to be able to rewrite it, you know, to be that dog who's like, no, this time you're not going to motherfucking shock me.
Right. I see these other dogs running.
And I can run too. Yeah, and I can run and go be free. And look, there's a meadow. That's where they all are now. And like, oh, this is just a crazy...
But they needed that example.
They need the example. We need to lead by example. And also when that person, that trigger is in the room, oof. That is challenging. You know, between a stimulus and a response, there is a space. You know, and this is a quote. We'll find out who it's from later. But I think it's Frankl. Frankl, if I'm not mistaken. Viktor Frankl. But yeah, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And this end quote, my personal understanding is that when there's trauma in the room, that space to decide is very greatly reduced. It's very greatly reduced. And so actually by going in and by being held in a space, and because, you know, trauma is a collective thing. Trauma is not individual.
It's greatly reduced, but with practice...
It opens up.
With conscious practice.
Yeah.
And just another example, every time I drive from my house to your house, I pass all these things that remind me of sadness. And every single time I feel it, and I go, this isn't me. This isn't... Like, before I just let it take over. Now I feel it creep up. I recognize what my body's doing, what my mind is doing, and I change the story.
Yeah.
But it's practice.
It's practice, and it's practice sitting with whatever's uncomfortable. Because you can't just, like, feel something uncomfortable, start flipping through TikTok and be like, healing. I mean, like, yes, and literally, I mean, you know, I feel like triggers are to me, triggers are like such magic because, you know, a trigger, whether it's passing by that place where you went with that person, or whether it's, you know, whatever it is for you, whatever's triggering, maybe it's something somebody says, like, all of those are literally windows into healing. Because when we're talking about alignment, and, you know, those triggers are the things that, it's like making you feel something. That's something you feel. For me, is your inner knowing that screw that. This is not for me. This is not for me. It was not for me in the past. It is not part of who I am now, and it will not be part of my future. That is what your body is saying, but we, you know, sort of, like, get sort of taken over by that. And the more that we can change that.
Because it's something we know,
right,
familiar with it, we don't know the future. So it's that risk, again, of being open
and
vulnerable to a future that is uncertain.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's not going to be the past.
Yeah.
And so that's the part where you just have to let it go.
And two, how much liberation is present when we actually let ourselves dream. When we actually let ourselves dream. And so to me, when we talk about magic, you know, there's a lot that can be done and needs to be done, you know, either looking back or looking forward, or just, you know, and at the end of the day, all of that's going to happen right here. It's going to happen right now. It's going to happen in the present. And so the more that we can actually be in the present, and then be in the present with all that was and all that will be, that's when magic can happen. That's when the magic can happen.
So, do you want to talk about our full moon ceremony?
Our full moon ceremony and magical beings? I think we should just, I mean, you can talk about whatever you want, but, like, I would love to share highlights.
Highlights.
What was one of your highlights? Well, okay, set the backdrop. Do you want to set the backdrop? Because you're great at that.
Okay, so last Saturday or Sunday, whatever, the full moon, Monday?
Yeah, last full moon,
we planned on taking ourselves to the beach and sitting there and having a full moon ceremony with questions, dialogue, and journaling.
And
candles, so that we just basically to bring us closer to alignment and closer to our knowing. And so we packed our backpack and we went down to the beach and we spread out the colorful wool blanket. Andrew brought 2 green candles because the theme was growth and renewal. Green for growth,
everybody.
So they were 2 taper candles, 2 seeds of some beautiful, smooth, round brown
I've heard them called deer's eyes.
Deer's eyes.
Deer's eyes. Honestly, both of those washed up in the ocean for me.
Okay.
And so I was like,
they look a lot like Wanakaxle seeds.
Maybe
a little bigger, but we had...
Because also, growth and renewal.
Yes. We had Palo Santo.
Of course. Gotta cleanse the space.
Absolutely. Palo Santo is magical. Like, just the scent of it immediately says, okay, you're in the space of magic right now.
Yeah, there's more than meets the eye. There's more than meets the eye.
And then Andrew had a list of questions, and basically what we did was we stood on the blanket and we said all the things to the 4.
We called in the 4 directions.
Yeah. Yes, which was amazing.
We didn't do any balance exercises.
Mind you, we are surrounded. We're 20 feet from the break of the ocean, and
surrounded by all sorts of humanity.
I mean, socially distancing, of course. Everybody was on their own blanket, like, a good 20 feet away from us. And then the restaurant in the back, and the music, and the fire dancers. But it was just
sunset.
Us. The sunset. Yeah. Oh, yes, the sunset.
Yeah.
So, basically we sat down, and the first thing that we did was just appreciate the fact that we live here. We're sitting here. We're watching the sunset in the west, over the ocean.
Taking your surroundings, taking the life around you, taking the beauty of it all, taking the renewal that has come.
Groups and just everybody living and communing and being together and laughing and loving. It was very beautiful. So then we start doing our ceremony, And
the ceremony had already begun.
I guess the ceremony. You're right.
Fax machine. This just in from the fax machine.
Just as in from the
When you call in the 4 directions, the ceremony has already begun.
Yes. And so then we laid on our blanket, and Andrew posed a question. We wrote about it. Just
one page. Let it be intuitive. Let it be rapid.
Right.
Rapid fire.
So I think there were 4 questions or 4 pages, 4 series of whatever.
Yeah, because there was a lot of rambling in each question.
Yes. And then afterwards, we took turns sharing what we had written and then dialoguing about it and going deeper, diving deeper, as they say. And
page by page. Yeah, Heather would share, I would share a page, and then we would pick up the candle and drip some of the green wax onto that page, and then once it's cooled down a little bit, because don't give yourself burns, it's not worth it, and then pressing your thumbprint into it.
Yes.
Saying you were here and these words were spoken out into existence.
Right. This is the print of you, of your skin bag.
In this very moment.
Yes. Okay, so highlights.
Okay, one of my highlights, I must say, I had finished reading a page and I literally said being gay, being sexual, and magical being.
A magical sexual gay being.
And okay, just as a little precursor, a little like context, like this particular page was sort of about like, you know, like recognizing sort of like guilt and shame that I've walked around with, you know, in my past, and how that's influenced what I believed was possible for me, and how much I let myself be and what I let myself just do and be.
And parts of you that you were hiding and
parts
not
of the
comfortable
self,
with.
the fragments of the self that, you know, I have done a lot of work to integrate and to just be like, hey, you know, like, I'm just being me. But the fact is, for as far as other people are concerned, I'm being gay. I'm just being me. Or I'm being this. And then when I wrote magical being, I was actually thinking of going back and being like, no, I'm actually like a gay being. You know, I'm just like, whatever you think gay is whatever that is. Yeah, that adjective is actually just a gay being that is me, and just a sexual being that is me, and that is all of us, hey, everybody. And then a magical being, because we're all magical as well.
Magical.
And in that moment that I say magical being, this drunken, like, lovely man without a shirt, jeans, cowboy hat, cross hanging around his neck, had been drinking in front of us for the past 20 minutes. All of his friends were, like, packing up and leaving. He just bent down and goes, hello! Like, magical being, boom, okay,
Boom.
cue magical being in front of us, shirtless magical being, drunk, being like, I just want to say, you two are so beautiful. This was so, like, cool to see 2 people who just, like, being here. Your energy is so positive, so uplifting, like, so
I wish
good.
more people in the world were like this.
I know, and we were just like,
Like,
OMG, stop.
Yeah,
stop.
we're like, we wish more people in the
We're
world
like
were like you.
Yeah, and like have the guts to like come up and say this, you know, to somebody.
And to his additional credit, not only did he have the guts to come up to 2 strangers, he had to think in another language to communicate with us because he didn't know that we spoke his language as well. I mean, that takes courage.
Nerve, yeah.
Just to connect. Like, his intent was to connect with us.
Yes.
And it was
and to share, it was so beautiful. That was one of my highlights.
That is,
and even one of his like, and his friends were like, "Hey, come on, like, man, yeah, like, vámonos, que gas it, no, yeah, wait, vámonos." And you know, and meanwhile he's like, no, I got to tell these people this thing. Yeah, that was my magical moment.
That was amongst my magical moment too.
I mean, and I would say another highlight for me was like manta rays jumping out of the water as we're calling in directions of the west. Like, magic.
Another magical moment was protecting our candles with one hand, blocking the breeze, and also telling them with all of our being, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And watching the
And by telling them, Heather literally means we were telling our candles, I believe in you.
I believe in you.
I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you.
Come on, flame, I believe in you.
I believe in you.
Yeah, light it up, get stronger. Bright, burn bright. And it was like, we were telling our candles, we were telling ourselves, we were telling each other.
And Heather was like, oh no, it's not gonna work. And I was like, you don't believe in your candle? Believe in your candle. Believe in yourself, Heather. Believe in yourself.
She believes
I believe
in
you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in your candle.
And it was so symbolic and silly, but also symbolic. Like, it really
symbolic, silly, and symbolic.
And symbolic. It transferred from this silly little interaction, but it was like coming back into me. It was cool. And I think
Yeah, because what you put out there, right, comes right back around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was magical. And so our plan too, as well, for all of you folks out here listening, is to include a bonus little episode after this that you'll be able to find, that actually we want to incorporate everybody, build this tribe, and let everybody tap into a little bit of magic. And so we will be creating full moon and new moon ceremonies for you that we will also be performing. So we will all be in on the joke together, everyone. We will all be in on this magic, this uplifting, this expansion together. Obviously, we want you to put any of your own finesse, any of your own touches with it. And then the next episode as well, we will be discussing a bit about what has come out of our having done that magical ceremony.
Right. Yeah.
Any last things you want to wrap up with, Heather?
Last things.
I mean, today we spoke a bit about healing and how healing really, can be looked at as alignment, as connection, as liberation, and how really like the mind, body, spirit is all involved in this. And guess what? Your mind, body, spirit is all wrapped up with everybody else's. So,
right. We do
we're
healing on an individual level as well as a collective level.
Yeah. For me, it's all about collective and how we're connected to that collective.
And we are here to connect with each other. I mean, that is the richness of the human experience. We are so fortunate to have this human experience. And so if something we can do allows you or changes something in your mind or gives you permission to be vulnerable and connect with another human on a deeper level, it's working.
Yep, it's working.
And thank you, Andrew, for being one of my most amazing people.
I received that. With a lot of love. You are such a sunshine in my life. And we may not be on a road trip right now, but we will be again soon.
But we're on a trip, man.
But we are on a trip. The trip has not ended.
The trip doesn't end.
So much thanks for you, Heather, and thank you for coming over today in your beautiful red.
Thank
this is. I don't know what clothing is called.
It's an atuendo. It's
Atuendo.
an outfit.
It's an outfit. It's a look. It's a look. It's a look.
It's a mood.
It's a mood. It's a mood.
It's a mood.
Covered in blue flowers and red cloth.
Yes. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm a part of a tribe. I feel safe.
I am connected to Mother Earth. I am connected to my spirit. I am rooted into connection.
Right now, our booty bones are rooted into the core of the earth.
There's people trying to go to Mars. Fax machine. There's like thousands of applications of people who are like literally going on a one-way mission to Mars.
You people.
Do you know the fax machine, what the real fax machine is? I want to know who's getting paid to look over those applications. Who is getting paid to look over
what are the
these
qualifications?
Right?
I don't know. I have a
what does
good
it take
friend
to
from
summon someone to
Sacramento,
Mars?
and she wants to be that.
Work.
And she's always pushing boundaries and exploring, and it's for science. She's a science nerd. She's my favorite science nerd.
I think we should wrap up this episode with a little moment with the fax machine. Fax, like F-A-C-T-S, the fax machine.
The fax
and this
machine.
is, a segment we're having in each show where, what are you a dork about? Let's whip out the fax machine. And this just in from the fax machine. Heather, what are you a nerd for? What are you a dork about?
What am I a dork about? Facts.
She's not kidding. She's not kidding. No.
I am not trying to argue or enter into a discussion about something that will not have a resolution. So if you're like, there's this conspiracy theory, stop.
Facts.
Done. Facts. You're not going to know the answer. I'm not going to know the answer. We don't even need to discuss it.
There is no reason for this to be heated and for you to project your anger at your boss on me, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm super nerdy about facts. You want to know what this flower is? Hold on, I will research it.
Yeah, Heather and Google have a very intimate relationship.
I love the Google.
Also, Google, I feel like most people's Google's probably like boring. The information it's sending to the government, but whatever it's sending from your phone, it's probably like, whoa, this person has too much knowledge.
This person has issues.
This person either knows too much or is absolutely...
This person researches her poop way too much. And if you haven't done it, you probably should. There's a lot of interesting facts about our poop.
There's facts, Bristol stool charts, everybody. Bristol stool charts. Ayurvedic poop analysis. Everybody be a fan.
And if your poop stinks, there's a problem.
There's a problem. Yeah.
Just, shit should not stink.
No, yeah. Keep the pipes clean. Keep the constipation is one of the worst things for your mental health.
I'm glad we could incorporate poop into our
Absolutely. Honey, I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner. Poop is it's a part of my life. It's part of your it's a part of everyone's life.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Okay, what are you nerdy about?
I am really nerdy about just I'm really nerdy about humans and like the human nature connection. So like I'm super like as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I'm always like looking deeper into like, but like how are the elements involved in like, in these people's emotions or like the food that they're eating and like how is that, like sort of the holistic answers of it all, because it's like, yeah, the more people I meet and the more people that I work with, the more I'm just like, or that I'm even just with myself, I'm like, oh, this is happening literally because of that.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, I'm anxious and I'm having a nervous breakdown. It's like, oh, well, what have I actually been eating over the past few days? And like, what has been my eating schedule like? And like, have I done anything nice for myself particularly? Or have I just been like expecting my body to be able to do it all?
Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm very nerdy about that. I'm very nerdy about movement. I'm getting more nerdy about anatomy, which like, who knew a piriformis could be such a sexy, interesting thing? But like, y'all, you better release your piriformis a little bit, especially if you're a runner. So yeah, like just like stuff like that. I'm like, oh, it's so interesting. Because it's like really this idea for me, all of it kind of goes back to like function and dysfunction. I guess like I'm a dysfunctionality nerd. Like things that are dysfunctional, but like they really don't need to be.
They don't need to be. Things
really don't need to be. Like your body, it gets a cut, it heals it. Your body is like literally, we are all healing masters. And so we need to actually take away the things that are getting us out of alignment and just lean a little bit more in the direction.
Look at that, a little nugget right there. Take away the things that are leading us out of alignment. Take away the things that are getting in the way of healing. Like, we are natural healers. Yeah. We just have sometimes shit is in the way.
It is literally the healing tendency. Yeah. The tendency of the universe is towards healing, is towards alignment.
You're right.
Yeah. Fax machine.
Boom.
Yeah, the fax machine.
The fax machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Not wrong. So all of that. Take away the stuff that is hindering, energy from flowing. Because at the end of the day, it's life force. It's your life force. You're breathing it in, you're eating it, you're drinking it. All of that stuff is keeping you alive. But, like, where are you sending it? Where is that energy going? Is it going into staring at your phone? Is it going at, like, not healing relationships with your family and just staying in the same karmic cycles of like...
I have a lot of work to do, Andrew.
Don't we all? I know.
I have a growing list just from this little conversation.
You're welcome. Don't we all? But yeah, for me, it's take away that stuff and then just lean. For me, it's just leaning a little bit in the direction of the things you really want. Mm-hmm. That's enough. Start to lean, and then it's like, if you're leaning on, if you have skis on, because we all have skis on this mountain of healing, and you're just leaning a little bit in the right direction, the universe is going to do its work. Universe is going to do its work, and it's going to be a beautiful ride. So yeah, enjoy that, or tumble down the mountain as a snowball. Life is gonna take you to the bottom either way. Yeah, trigger an avalanche while you're at it. Do what you want. Right. Wake up or don't. We're all part of the conscious evolution of the planet, and wherever we're at is perfectly fine, perfectly part of this. But we just want more people to be happy, to be joyful, to be uplifted.
And to be connected on a deep, authentic level. Really.
Because, yeah, like when you have the knockoff versions of like Coca-Cola, it's just not the same. Actually, I don't drink Coca-Cola, but somebody told me the other day it's what do they call it? Oh, it's the sewage it's Yankee sewage. Oh. Translation, right? Las aguas negras del Imperio Yankee. Yeah, those are the black waters of the Yankee imperialism. But I'm just like, oh yeah, that is what it is. But hey, Coca-Cola, if you want to sponsor this, no, I'm just kidding. We would never.
Just kidding.
We would never work with you. Fax machines.
Unless you started to put true water systems into communities.
I will still never work with you.
Out of the kindness of your heart, and get rid of plastic bottles.
You're expecting a lot of history. Yeah.
And advertising.
I'm going to lean a little bit more in the direction of, water. Water, salt, and lime. Get up on it, baby. Okay. Well, this is wrapping up this episode. Yeah. It was so lovely to sit here and chat with you and spill some rooibos tea, and you had an actual tea leaf in your tea, but, infusions count too. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this very first episode of the Sufficiently Profound podcast, where we talk about the conscious evolution of our planet
in one conscious skin bag at a time. I'm going to get better at that.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Tune in for the ceremony coming up.